introduce you first.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're so excited to have Linda Glevy from the International Rescue Community, which is which she'll get into, but it's one of the premier refugee empowerment and outreach organizations in the nation. And yeah, she's going to talk about volunteering opportunities there.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks. Just first, hello everyone. As Sora said, my name is Linda. My pronouns are she, her, and I work in volunteer services at the International Rescue Committee in San Diego. And I used to be in NLG in my undergrad at Pepperdine University. So I'm really excited to be meeting with y'all today and see an active chapter at UCSD. Throughout this presentation, if you have any questions or if there's anything I say or do that doesn't sit right with you, feel free to jump in and tell me or put any questions or anything in the chat, and I'd be happy to get to those. And I'm just going to go through a little bit about the IRC and about our youth programs and volunteer opportunities in San Diego. So the mission of the IRC is to help people whose lives and livelihoods are shattered by conflict and disaster to survive, recover, and gain control of their future. Some history: the IRC was founded in 1933 by Albert Einstein and a couple other people in a committee trying to help refugees from World War II. And it grew from there and was established here in San Diego in 1975 in response to refugees from the Vietnam War. So it went from that small committee to a large commitment throughout the world. Internationally, the IRC is on the ground in over 40 different countries, providing emergency relief, relocating refugees, and rebuilding lives in the wake of disaster. So some services we provide are emergency relief, youth programs, healthcare, post-conflict development, protection of women, refugee resettlement, economic well-being, and power and advocacy. So these all just depend on the area we're in and what needs there are throughout the world, and those are just some of the services we provide. And then here in the US, we have 24 regional offices, and we help resettle refugees and help asylum seekers and immigrants become self-sufficient and hopefully get that protected status. Some services we have here are temporary financial assistance, housing, employment, school enrollment, health screening, cultural orientation, economic development, youth services, family reunification and citizenship, and food security. And then here in San Diego specifically, our departments are safety and wellness, food and farming, the Center for Financial Opportunity, resettlement, youth, immigration, and administration. And then before I talk about those, just a little bit about the people we serve. I'm sure a lot of you know some of these facts already, but a refugee is someone who is forced to leave their country and cannot return because of a legitimate fear of persecution based on race, religion, nationality, political activity, or membership in certain social groups, and they have to prove that status to the United Nations to get that protected refugee status. And then an internally displaced person is someone who's been forced to flee their home for those same reasons, but hasn't left their own country's border or crossed an international border. They might be in the process of fleeing or found refuge somewhere else within their own country. And then does anyone know or want to guess the difference between a refugee and an asylee?
I can take a stab at it.
All right.
So like an asylee is kind of like seeking refugee status in a sense, like they actually haven't been like granted that status. And like once they like cross the border, enter a country, then they can like apply for asylum.
Yeah, exactly. An asylee is someone applying for that refugee status. Usually, sometimes they can live in the country while they're waiting for that approval, depending on the country, or they might be at the border applying. And then once they have that granted refugee status, they have that protected status of a refugee. As of a report in 2019, 1 in every 97 humans was either a refugee, internally displaced, or seeking asylum. So there were 26 million refugees, 45.7 million internally displaced persons, and 4.2 million asylum seekers, for a total of 79.5 million worldwide displaced persons. And that number has only grown from there, and about half of those are under 18. Some common countries of origin are Syria, Venezuela, Afghanistan, South Sudan, Myanmar, Somalia, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. And one of the options for refugees is resettlement. So once they are have that refugee status, they can apply to be resettled, but only about 1% of refugees are resettled each year. The main countries that take resettled refugees are the United States, Australia, Canada, Sweden, and Norway. And in the past, the US has resettled about 68% of eligible refugees, but unfortunately, recently that number has drastically decreased. The presidential administration mandates how many refugees are admitted to the US each year. And as you can see from these numbers, the current administration has gradually decreased that mandate. And for this upcoming year, the recommendation was 15,000. But hopefully with this new administration, that number will go back up. In the past, refugee numbers have been pretty high, with an average of about 95,000, no matter the party of the president. More recently, it's become more of a political issue rather than that humanitarian issue. All right, and then back to our youth programs here in San Diego. The different programs we run are high school tutoring programs, higher learning navigation, which is our college tutoring, El Cajon tutoring, which also works with college age students and students that are out of school or wanting to learn English. And then we have our Peacemakers, Girls Academy, and Boys Club. These are all clubs that focus on teaching youth either how to share their story or just connecting them with peers, providing support and learning different skills to be successful. And then we have our Connect to Work and FarmWorks programs. These both help with building resumes, learning job skills. And then our FarmWorks program is a paid internship our youth can be a part of to work at our garden and help with different veggie share or other programs we have. Our current tutoring volunteer opportunities are online high school tutor volunteer, and then some other tutoring programs we have, again, is that higher learning navigation and El Cajon youth tutoring program. At the moment, we don't have a need for tutors in those programs, but they might have a need in the new semester in the future. And all of these are currently virtual, but may move back in person when safe to do so. So a little bit more about our high school tutoring. We usually have after-school tutoring that's open to all students, but we mainly focus on outreaching to the refugee and immigrant population at the schools we work with, and our volunteers support students in completing homework assignments. We work with Crawford and Hoover High School. At Crawford, there are over 40 different languages spoken on campus, and students are primarily from Eastern Africa and Southeast Asia with a large Karen population. And then we work at Hoover High School, and students there are primarily from Central Africa or the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Congo or Tanzania. And shifting to online, we've been doing tutoring over Zoom, and we have this Monday through Thursday from 3 to 5 p.m. So tutors and students join our Zoom session, and we break them off into breakout rooms based on what the student is working on that day and what the tutor is comfortable tutoring. And then tutors and students work through their assignments, and we focus on trying to help students really learn and not doing their homework for them, but making sure they can do as much as they can while really learning to be able to do it in the future for themselves. And then our higher learning navigation program is college tutoring. Volunteers mainly work with IRC students enrolled in local community colleges or universities. A lot of these students are people that were in our high school tutoring programs and graduated and still want to be connected to us. And the volunteers mainly, again, assist with homework and may help with navigating the higher education system, applying for scholarships, or enrolling in classes, things like that. Usually that's in our office in City Heights, but currently online. And that has a more flexible schedule. You would be paired one-on-one with a student consistently and then set a schedule with them. And then our El Cajon tutoring program is similar, working with students in college or out of school. And we mainly have a need, when we do have a need for tutors in STEM or English as a second language tutoring. That's in our office in El Cajon, but again, currently online. And also has a flexible schedule, but does need to be between Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. But that you would be paired with one-on-one with a student again, and set a schedule with them within those times. So some unique challenges for our refugee students. Our students are often placed in high school because of their age, not necessarily their ability. So they could be in a class that they haven't really had classes leading up to that, or are just on a different level than the other students in their class. The students are learning a new culture, going through just being a teenager in high school with all that challenges, and then also sometimes learning English. So they just have a lot to focus on and think about on top of all the class work they have. There's a wide range of English levels in one classroom, so tutors or teachers aren't always able to accommodate this, especially online. It's really hard to get that one-on-one support. And then there's often sporadic past access to education. Students might be impacted by different traumas or lack of resources in their past and present education. So some benefits from IRC programs for students trying to help mitigate some of those challenges are speaking English practice, having a supportive environment for taking risks and trying new things, and having that one-on-one support. Building meaningful relationships with individuals inside and outside of their community to widen their horizons and get that support from their community. And having experiences and activities that keep them motivated to stay engaged in school and hopefully have dreams and aspirations for the future. The role of our volunteers is to instill confidence in students, individualize homework plans, provide that one-on-one support for students, and help facilitate the transition into American culture while really valuing the culture they came from, and then creating a safe and brave space for our students to be themselves. So if you are interested in volunteering, you can submit an application and schedule an interview. And if you do submit an application or email me, I'll have the info on the next slide as well. I'll reach out with that interview link and all the next steps as well. And then if you are approved to continue in the process, we'll send a background check to do. For our high school tutoring, that does require a live scan as well, which involves going into a physical location to get your fingerprints scanned. And then we'll also check references, and then you'll attend an orientation and training and sign some paperwork, and then you'll be ready to start volunteering, and we'll set your schedule. And that's all I have. Thank you so much for having me. Does anyone have any questions?
Oh, I just wanted to clap first.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so again, thank you so much for coming in. That was a really great presentation, very comprehensive.
Thank you.
And I'm actually gonna open the floor. So my first question is, so when for like the background check, you said you have to go in person. Like, so for me, like who is not in California, like how can I pass the background check?
Yeah, so actually for that background check, you do need to be in California. But if you ever come back, or if we do have a need for those college programs, those don't require that live scan. So you would be eligible for those. So if you're interested at all in those, I can put you on like a wait list for that as well.
Oh, I see. Okay. And like, so the only available volunteering opportunities right now is like the online, the high school tutoring.
Yeah, in terms of our youth programs. And then if anyone's interested in other volunteer opportunities, I'll put that link in the chat.
Oh yeah, that would be really great.
Yeah, and then we also have um, some internships for next semester available if anyone's interested in that as well. Anaya interned for us a year ago, so if you have any questions about interning for us, she can answer those or share her experience. Mike, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna, yeah, those are all my questions, but
Okay.
yeah, everyone else feel free to ask her.
Yeah. Mike said he has a lot of questions, but doesn't want to hog the mic. If you want to start with one, feel free.
Okay, we'll throw them out sporadically. So
Okay.
for tutoring purposes, is it okay if, say, I'm not very good at statistics, but I do have other things that I'm very good at? Does the tutoring program sort of match tutor skills with mentors or mentee skills?
Yeah, exactly. So when I interview you, I ask you what you're comfortable tutoring, and then we just have that list on our little information spreadsheet whenever students ask for help and you're on our schedule. We'll look at what you're comfortable tutoring and just exactly match you with a student that's working on whatever you're comfortable tutoring.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I had a question about like time. So you said that the tutoring was like Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m.
Monday through Thursday right now.
Monday through Thursday. So if we do sign up for the volunteer, would we have to be present for all those hours?
Oh no, you can choose any day you want to volunteer. We do have a minimum of at least 2 hours per week, and prefer to have that if you're only doing 2 hours all in one day. And we do have some tutors that do like 1 hour one day and 1 hour another, if that's the only thing that fits with their schedule. But that's a little bit harder with our students that want to work with the whole time. But yeah, you can choose any day you want to tutor, and we can work out a schedule for that. And we're always flexible if your schedule changes and you need to switch a day or anything.
Thank you. I also had like a second question. Like, say like I'm going to be in California like for like a little bit, but then I might like travel to another country. Like, am I still eligible to tutor if I'm like in another country?
Yeah, so if you are able to do that background check in California first, then you can be anywhere as long as the timing works for you still, with any time difference. But yeah, if you're available during that 3 to 5 Pacific time, then you can be anywhere if you already had that background check.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm going to sprinkle another one in. Does the orientation and training include any sort of like trauma informed or psychosocial awareness training, something to sort of, give us the red flags of things that we should be aware of when interacting with refugee youth?
At the moment, we don't have a lot of that in our orientation and training, but that is a good idea to add in. I think that is something we're thinking about, kind of depending on the program. Right now, we kind of just say if anything doesn't sit right with you or you need help with anything, you can let the supervisor know. And yeah, to generally just be open to learning new things or aware of yeah, anything that seems off. But yeah, that's definitely a good idea to have a little bit of that awareness in there.
Could I just jump in really quick, Mike?
Yeah.
I think in the general orientation that we got as interns, we didn't get any like trauma-informed training, but I don't know if this would apply to volunteers, but I know as an intern, like Mike, if you're interested in interning, they do give you more in-depth training because you're working with them more often than some of the tutors are. So I know Anna, we had like a whole like day-long program where they like went over like what's required of us if we see certain red flags or whatever. So I think it just also depends on what you do. because yeah, I think Linda's right. Like the regular orientation and training for volunteers doesn't include that, but if you're an intern, it does. At least that was my experience.
Yeah, I think whenever like it applies to a certain role, they definitely have more training for that. But yeah, we don't have much in that general orientation.
Hi, I actually am interested in doing an internship. I was wondering because I think I've tried to apply before, but maybe it's really competitive these days. But I was wondering maybe if, because I've been told by my career services that maybe volunteering before doing internship gives you a better chance of getting an internship in an organization like this. Is that something you'd suggest?
Yeah, I think you can feel free to apply to these ones, but yeah, if you don't get it, I think definitely being connected to an organization through volunteering or other ways definitely helps just people recognize you, especially if you're wanting to like say intern with youth and you volunteer, then the supervisor of the program will probably already know you and recognize you and appreciate what you've done so far. So I think that can definitely be helpful.
Yeah, I think the internship that I'm looking at, because I'm trying to go into like nonprofit management and international development,
Yeah.
it's not like so closely working with refugees. It's more on like the organizational structure. Would I still have to go through like orientation like Anaya went through?
Yeah, we have a general orientation that all of our interns go through. It's kind of the similar information of the beginning of this about the IRC, and then specifically more of the like logistics of interning that applies to all interns. And then all of our internships usually have a specific training that they'll go through with their specific role. Which one were you looking at? Was it the development?
Yeah, I kind of
Okay.
wanted to do it, but I don't
Yeah,
know. I
cool.
know like it's probably really competitive, and I'm just a grad student, so I don't really have
I
any.
mean, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's a great place to be in. Yeah, I think usually they are competitive, but I would say definitely apply and see what happens.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I had also like another question about the volunteering. So is there like a certain deadline that we should apply before, or like an orientation date that we should anticipate before we like submit our applications?
All of our applications and start dates and orientations are kind of rolling. I just plan them once I have enough volunteers kind of in our onboarding process. So there's not necessarily a deadline, but just to get started in our onboarding process as soon as you can would be helpful so you can get started earlier.
And how long would you say like the onboarding process is?
Yeah, it's usually about 2 weeks long, just depending on how long background checks take or yeah, when those orientation and trainings are, but usually around 2 weeks.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Oh, I had like a question about like the locations of IRC. So I saw that like I was looking for IRC low key in Chicago, but I
Yeah.
didn't see it there. Like I was just wondering like how like I know you guys are probably gradually expanding, but I guess like do you guys have like a strategic like way or like reason why you choose like certain areas or not? I'm just wondering.
I'm not exactly sure
Yeah.
on how we choose that. I think it depends on, if there's a refugee population there. I'm sure a lot of offices have been in a place for a while. It might depend on government mandates too. I'm not sure, but I know we do have like different strategies going on, but I don't know if like expanding locations are. I mean, that's probably part of them, but yeah, I don't know much about that.
Okay, yeah, no worries. And then like I had like follow-up question too. So like I don't really know how like refugees like if they want to become like American citizens, like how does that process work? And how does that process work? And does like the IRC like work on that?
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah,
wondering.
we have a citizenship tutoring program. So once a refugee has been here for 5 years, that they're eligible to become a citizen. So at the IRC, I actually interned in the citizenship program a couple years ago, but they have different classes and cohorts that our clients can be a part of, and then those go through just everything they need to know for that test and interview, and then we help fill out the application with them and help them practice for the interview. And that's always fun when one of our clients gets their citizenship. Usually they'll bring some like baklava and have a little celebration. So unfortunately, we're not able to do as much of that now, but we do have the online citizenship classes still.
And I was wondering, like, if I wanted to get involved with that, like, because I was actually a citizenship counselor and like back here at home.
Cool.
And like, I was wondering, like, would I need to do the scan check if I wanted to get involved with that in IRC or no?
That one doesn't require the live scan. I think we do have some, well, it would depend on whatever location is near you. We don't have any volunteer opportunities for that at the moment. We might have some internship opportunities, but for that you might have to be in San Diego. But yeah, you can kind of look around at our different locations and volunteer opportunities if any of those have a citizenship opportunity.
Okay. I just need to be back in California.
Yeah, I think that's the sign for you. But yeah, you can always, on our therescue.org website, you can look at locations and kind of like click on each of those and click on their volunteer opportunities if you feel like looking around for that.
I also had another question. Sorry, not a lot.
No,
But
I love it.
how much of like a language barrier should we be anticipating?
Yeah, for our high school students, they're pretty comfortable with English. It's more when they get to like writing or reading that they need a little bit of help sometimes. But usually with speaking, there's not much of a language barrier other than just trying to be more slow and patient with understanding each other. And then for some of the El Cajon tutoring, there's more of a language barrier with some of our students, especially when they're learning English. But yeah, it does depend on the student, but usually you're able to at least communicate with them.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm
Michael,
gonna hop in
you
with another one. I've got a few more, sorry. So I know with other volunteering opportunities, there's sometimes like a term where, you know, you work for 3 months and then the term is over and you have to reapply, or, you know, some things shift. Is that the case with like tutoring high school students, aside from obviously if they graduate?
No, our tutoring program is just continual. We kind of check in each semester if people want to continue or if their schedule is changing. But once you are cleared to volunteer at all with the IRC, you don't have to reapply, except for internships. But even then, you wouldn't need to like redo background checks or anything, depending on how long it's been in between volunteering. But yeah, we do have an expectation, I believe, of at least 3 months that you're committed to volunteering with us. And then you would just let us know if you want to continue or not. But there's not like a deadline of ending volunteering.
I'm going to ask another one because it's been a minute.
Yeah.
So maybe ideally the tutoring would stay within like purely academic fields, but do you find that with tutoring high school students that sometimes branches out to sort of more acculturation and kind of general life advice in America, or is that purely strictly someone else's responsibility?
I didn't see that coming up as much in like specifically tutoring. It might come up in like conversations, or generally like if you're just talking with a student and asking about their plans. Usually it's more working on like college essays or different things in that realm. We do have other programs for like those clubs I mentioned are more in that realm. And then we have a job club or those other job training programs, that would be more of the like career focused areas. But yeah, usually tutoring is mainly those school subjects, and then anything that would like usually come up in conversation, but nothing usually out of the ordinary. Any other questions?
If anyone does, do we have any more questions? And if not, we can wrap it up.
I'll just take up just a tiny bit more of your time if you don't mind. I'm so sorry.
No problem. I'm loving all these questions.
So outside of what one might expect for, tutoring high school students, do you think that there are any particular skills that you find useful or that your tutors find useful in tutoring?
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
Other than like knowing the actual content of high
Mhm.
school courses and direct knowledge of the curricula, are there any particular skills that your tutors find useful to have as a tutor? Obviously we want highly organized people and people who can handle stress and all of that. But is there anything kind of outside the box in terms of skills that you think are useful?
I think definitely that just like adaptability piece and being able to be creative with finding different ways to explain something or different strategies for completing homework. And then recently just having being kind of tech savvy is definitely helpful, or knowing just different things you can do on Zoom or online. Yeah, I think that main piece is either being patient or being able to adapt and be creative with different ways to teach or explain a subject or work through a problem.
So, and then my very last question, thank you so much for your patience. It's easy to imagine pre-COVID that you might have had some sort of computer lab or just in-person tutoring. Do you have a way now to get digital access to students who might not have computers or something like that?
Yeah, so we when we were in person, we were just in a classroom, and the school has laptops that students can use. And then now they've been able to lend those laptops out as well as give Wi-Fi to the students that don't need it. Or that do need it. So that is mostly on the school district that's been doing that. And then we've also been able to provide anything extra that students need that maybe a specific school didn't give them, and have also been able to give some headsets recently to students that were donated by one of our other volunteers families. So that's been cool.
Can I ask one last question?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. I was actually wondering with regards to the high school tutoring, in previous years when I used to tutor younger students, like they change a lot of the curriculum. Would that be something that's, because I know when I was moving out of tutoring, they were moving in like a Common Core math.
Mm-hmm.
And then also I know the AP curriculum changes all the time. I was wondering if that was something that y'all had to deal with a lot.
Yeah, a lot of the classes aren't really, I guess, what us or the tutors went through in high school. Some of our more like college students might have familiarity with it, but usually a lot of our tutors don't really need to know, the specific curriculum or even as long as they have a general familiarity with a certain subject, you can definitely work through maybe learning something with a student, or it's definitely okay to like go and refresh yourself while you're working with a student if you need to relearn something before explaining it to them. So usually, yeah, it is a little bit of a challenge just knowing what the student is exactly working on or what the teachers expect from their homework, but usually we're able to figure it out, and it's more like working when you get down to like the specific problems they're working on, the tutors are able to understand that.
And do the tutors interact with the teachers or professors at all? I think when I used to tutor, I personally knew all of the teachers, so they would just give me extra homework to help the kids out.
Oh, nice. We don't have as much, our tutors especially don't really contact with the teachers. The supervisors of this program have more contact with the school and teachers. Some of the teachers aren't very good at responding. And when we were in person, it was easier to kind of like hop over to someone's classroom and ask a question and talk to them. But yeah, has definitely been one of the challenges, is kind of getting in touch with teachers and knowing exactly what the student is working on. But the supervisors of the program are in contact with the schools, and especially if a student is really struggling, they'll work on a strategy to help them.
Okay, thank you so much.
I had one last question.
No problem. Keep them coming.
Is there any cost that's associated with like the background check?
Yeah, so the live scan does cost around $30 to $40. And then usually we request a donation to cover the other background check we do, but we don't request that if you're doing the live scan.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's been a barrier I'm hoping we can cover in the future, but unfortunately we don't have the ability to do that at the moment.
Does anyone have any more questions? Okay, thank you so much everyone for coming out today, and then obviously special thanks, extreme gratitude to Linda. Can I just call you by your first name, Linda?
Yeah.
For coming. And yeah, as usual, this is gonna be posted on Facebook and also in our Slack chat, so feel free to look back if necessary for requisite information. And yeah, and also can exec board like stick around, but